Thanks for coming, John. Thanks for coming out to Crow Shield Lodge. Our journey, it's been fun. It's been exciting. It was a bit scary at the beginning because I didn't know who you were. You know, I was, in 2010, that was the year that I found a new pathway, a pathway back to myself. Scariest thing I ever did, starting that pathway, finding it, and then knowing that I had roles and responsibilities, not only to myself, but to my community, to my family, and to creation. So I mustered up all my strength and I went into 174 King. And it was very interesting. You know, when I rolled in there the first day, there was a police car, there was a coroner, somebody passed away, and I knew the guy. So I'm thinking, am I making the right choice? You know, I'm facing that fear. And regardless of what happened, I still took that step. And it was the beginning of a new way of thinking, a new way of living, a new way of being. Because before that, John, I was just surviving. I was on the streets, homeless for 8 years, broken marriage, you know, abandoned my children, just consumed with shame, guilt. When I went into 174 King, you know, after about 3 months of doing the work, sitting there, trying my best to stay awake during all of these classes and these courses, but then a light bulb went off and I started connecting things, and it started really making sense because I was invested and I wanted to give this the best kick that I had. And then I remember seeing you.
Clarence, just a sec. So 174 doesn't mean a lot to most folks.
Right.
And one of the things I've heard you say many a times is you said, I, so 174 is an addiction center. You said, I didn't have an addiction problem.
Right.
You had
A living problem.
yeah. And I think that's a profound statement that I think has been really helpful for people to hear.
Right. Yes, it's you know, drugs and alcohol helped me cope with life.
Right.
You know, my life was so bad at that time because because of everything I experienced. You know, being in the system, being foster child, you know, abuse, all of this stuff. And I got to explore that at 174 King, that treatment center, which is an amazing place. Been around for years, helped many people. But I do remember the first time I heard about you. You know, they said, the big guy's coming over. This guy called John Neufeld, he's the executive director, and we used to prop doors open. We used to do things, you know, and they said, gloves have to come out of doors. We got to pull the mats out. Everything has to be good. Because everybody was worried about this guy. And then I remember watching you come in because I was smoking at that time, and I was in the smoking area at the treatment center. I'm looking at you from far away, and I'm going, he kind of looks like me. Like we're the same age, you know, who is this guy, you know? But everybody's very, very anxious when he's around.
I must have been new and nobody knew me at that
Right.
point. So yeah, okay.
So what year did you start?
I was August 31st, 2009.
2009.
Yeah. So I was fairly new at that point.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing. Probably still don't, but
Amazing. And you know what, John? I wanted to meet you. I wanted to see who you were. I wanted to see how you rolled. I wanted to see how people treated you and how you treated people.
Right.
Because I believe that's the best way that I can get a good read on someone. How they hold themselves, their character. So it took a while until we met. And I remember coming out of 174 King and going to an Indigenous treatment center right after that. Then I went to a healing lodge after that. Then I came back and I got my grade 12, and then I went to college. And before I went to college, I got a job at the House of Friendship. And I can remember talking to some people there. They said, Clarence, it's a bit of a risk for us to hire you because normally we don't take people out of a treatment center and bring them in here because we know that that can be a slippery slope
Yeah.
when we invest in individuals like that. Saying that, it was one of the best beginnings of my life that I ever had, because I started to find purpose, meaning, and direction in my life, and I did it through the House of Friendship.
Well, on the flip side of that story is I had a few people come to me and they were like, "Oh, there's this amazing guy Clarence, and he's gone through quite a journey, and he's thinking of serving here." And and I remember saying to one of the managers, I said, "Well, if he's so wonderful, why aren't we hiring him?"
Mm-hmm.
And and then shortly after, I found out you joined us, and that really began this journey.
It did. It did. And I guess I have to thank Christine Stevanis
Yep.
for doing that,
She
because
believed in you. She saw something in you, and
yeah. And I always, and that makes me feel good, because for such a long time in my life, John, until that moment, until I went into 174, I didn't believe in myself.
Hmm.
And it's very strange when you hear that people believe in you.
Right.
But I will always say that 174 King gave me the foundation of sobriety to move on to other things, and bigger things and greater things. I remember when I got that part-time job working with the House of Friendship, I also had an opportunity to go to college. But I didn't want to lose my job or jeopardize my job.
Right.
So I remember going in and have a conversation. And the House of Friendship worked with me. It was amazing. They supported me during those 2 years that I had to go to an education center outside of London, Ontario.
Right.
Yeah, through AEI, Anishinaabe Education Institute.
Right.
It was amazing that I had that opportunity, that they supported me, they believed in me, they walked with me. And then I was fortunate enough to serve at the House of Friendship for, I think, 6.5 years.
And I think during that time, correct me if I'm wrong, but as you were kind of also reclaiming your Indigenous roots and
Mm-hmm.
learning the teachings, like stuff that you had been completely disconnected with, um, you kind of invited us into that, right? I remember, you would sit with the housing team and you would do smudging, and as you were learning your songs and you were learning that, you kind of invited us in, which, for those of us who were part of that, that was an incredible gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you were on your own journey and you took us with you, and that also began sort of a bit of a process for us at House of Friendship to learn and to see things differently.
Right. It was amazing. It was amazing to share those gifts, to be able to find my voice.
Right.
Because I remember at 174, they said, Clarence, find your voice, use it. You have a story, start sharing it. Nobody knows your story better than you do. But it was amazing to finally find my voice, to get realigned, and then to start having that confidence and that esteem that I never had.
Right.
Because yeah, it was just never there. It was just never there. I never went by the name Clarence. I always went by the name Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I was always hiding in the back. I was always picked last. There was all of these psychological
Right.
things that just went along with that. But I do remember the opportunities that I had serving with the House of Friendship. It just led me to other opportunities.
A couple of memories I have from those times. One, and I'm not the only one that you gave this gift to. There's a number of us at House Friendship who've had this experience. You were generous enough to kind of do like a walk with us in downtown,
Right.
and just kind of orient us a bit, show us some places. But you know, every time we would walk with you, we felt like we were walking with this big celebrity, because everyone on the street knew you. You had these relationships, you had trust, and I remember, I think the individuals there looked up to you, because you were kind of a bit of a sign of hope, right?
Right.
Because you were there one day and you kind of did the work, you've made the changes. So yeah, that stood out during that time to me. And then, you became, I think as you grew in your own, reclaiming your voice, it was very clear to see not only all your different gifts, but one of them was wisdom and vision. It is something that, and you just started sharing that with us. And there was so much teaching that you did, Clarence. I can speak to what the teaching you did for me personally, but so many of us at House of Friendship. And so it was just interesting to see how this was kind of this mutual process. You're saying about you're finding your voice, House of Friendship give you this space, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You were giving us voice and wisdom and vision that we didn't have before.
I remember having conversations with some leaders at the House of Friendship, and they said, Clarence, you're taking us outside of our comfort zone. You are taking us outside of our comfort zone, which is good, but it's a bit scary because we've never been here before. And I can't thank the partnership and the journey that we had with post-treatment housing.
Yeah.
Finding that gap from me going into treatment, knowing that there was nothing to help those individuals. And then went on that, banging on doors, asking people to sit with me, asking them for support letters, not knowing them, sitting with these leaders, just asking them, hey, do you have half an hour so we can have a chat? And they're there. The door almost got closed on me a couple of times, but from doing that, I was networking and I didn't even know it. I was starting to build these really awesome relationships. And that's what I always took time to network. I always took time to network because I watched other leaders in our community. I'd be at functions, I'd see how they'd be working the room, I'd see how people would be interacting with them. And it was teaching me something that would be very beneficial in the future that I had no idea about. Because now, today, I'm using all of those connections.
So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I just thought you were just a natural, like it just came naturally to you, a gift, but you're saying it's actually a skill that you developed and grew. I still remember when you came into my office with your vision for the post-treatment houses and brought the circle. You gave me some teaching, but then you also said, I have this vision. And we went from having none of those in the community to all of a sudden, I think within a year, we had about 15 or 16 beds. And that was a whole journey that you went on. And then I forget how much after that you came into my office again, and I said, Clarence, I can't keep up with your visions. Like we're still working on the first one. We haven't even figured that one out.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, but I have a vision for this. And that's when it, I'm not surprised we're sitting here today in this beautiful setting, and we're Crow Shield Lodges today.
Right.
Of course it would be. You've got the gift of connecting with people in a very real, authentic way, and you have this vision. And it's just been a gift to watch Crow Shield Lodge kind of grow. And you're now on second site. You've got larger visions, and people are coming around you because they sense who you are, and that this isn't about Clarence.
No.
This is about, like you said, bringing us back to the land. You said it earlier. We haven't been kind to Mother Earth, and we're seeing it all around us right now.
Yeah.
And to bring us together, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, we need to do that.
We do, John. We do. Can I want to backtrack just a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you and I had a conversation about risk. Because I had an opportunity to leave the House of Friendship, and I was torn. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So what did I do? We already had a relationship. We had a trusting relationship. I could trust you. I listened to you. You came to me at certain times, and I came to you. And I remember sitting in your office and talking about, I had this opportunity to move on to another organization, but I was scared.
Right.
And it was risk. And then you told me that you shared some stories about you, personal stuff, but then you also shared that some of the best things were built on risk. And thank you for that. Because by doing that, John, I was able to step outside of my comfort zone, scare the crap out of myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also able to realize that it was attainable, could be done, and then it just have to work on sustainable, right?
The magic word.
The magic word.
Clarence, one, since we're reminiscing about memories, I don't remember the year this was, but it was a few years into our journey, and you and I were sitting side by side at this large community event. I think it was the Kitchener-Waterloo Community Foundation at the time was hosting, and I think you were speaking and I was speaking. And then I think I, at one point, turned to you and I said, how did we get here? Like, you shared your personal journey of homelessness and addiction and all these challenges. And here you and I were sitting in front of hundreds of people together as colleagues.
Right.
Do you remember what you said to me?
No, I don't, John.
That's good. I'm glad you don't remember everything either as we get older. I've never forgotten it, and it's been so powerful for me. You looked at me and you said, the reason is because this community never gave up on me. There was always a place for me.
Yeah.
And that's hard sometimes, right? When we see kind of the state of things right now in a community and across North America, like you can lose hope,
You can.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, the problem seems to be getting bigger, and can we actually do this? And I always go back to your words, is you said, there were times where I was not fun to be around. I was very challenging and difficult, but the community never gave up on me.
Yeah.
There was always a place for me to come, and people would listen, provide a meal, provide shelter, and then you came to a point where you were ready to make that change, and that's, and anyways, that was one of the many powerful lessons you taught me, but I've never forgotten that.
Yeah. Yeah, I always remember that this region, tolerated me. Tolerated me at my worst, but then they had open arms and they accepted me and they welcomed me back, when I was ready to come back as a helper. And that was it's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor, John, because I'm not from here.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a place. I never felt that I had a place, a home. Being in the system at a very young age, not growing up with my family, but then when you have that connection with a place or space or people,
Right.
where you have that sense of belonging, where you feel that deep connection, that's what I feel here. And it's really strange because I'm not from here.
Right.
But I have a deep, deep sense of connection to Waterloo region, and this is where I've made a decision to invest my time.
And I feel like you're helping Indigenous, non-Indigenous people to also find home and grounding. And I mean, we have so many individuals who, in today's context, feel lonely and don't feel like they have a home.
Yeah.
And I think of, our Indigenous youth, children, young adults who have also been completely ripped apart from their traditions, their teachings, all that. And I feel like Crow Shield Lodge is helping people find their way back.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say there's a lot of people lost in
Yeah.
today's context.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is what you're helping people do in your own story. I think inviting people to do that.
Mm. Yeah, we've created a pathway that has never been in our region before, and it's new. It's scary for some people, but it's up to the individual how far they want to go down that pathway. Because Crow Shield Lodge sits on the teachings of the 7 grandfathers, which is humility, honesty, truth, bravery, wisdom, love, and respect. And it also sits on the values of the medicine wheel,
Right.
where the white, the red, the black, and the yellow, those are the original 4 colors of man, and those quadrants are all equal, so no race is supposed to be here over the other one. So everybody's welcome here. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what faith you follow, who you believe. You know, we just want to get you reconnected to the land. We want to give you a sense of belonging. We want to give you an experience that you've never had before.
Yeah. So I think you've just, I mean, how this idea started of doing this video was a year ago. I said to you,
Mm.
you know, truth and reconciliation, you know, now we've marked today, September 30th. And I just came to you quite honestly and said, I don't want to do some token thing to say, you know, we've acknowledged it, but
Right.
then nothing changes. And then you and I said, let's do a video. And um, so I'm assuming the wisdom behind that was you're trying to model what reconciliation really is. And that is about my understanding of it is, yeah, non-Indigenous, Indigenous kind of building relationships, you know, addressing the hurt and the wrongs that have been done, building relationships, and trying to find a way forward.
Right.
But it's not in a very traditional, like, strat plan 1 2 3 kind of way, right?
Right.
It's relational, and you know that's also kind of scary and different, right? This isn't about check boxes, this isn't about to-do lists, this is taking risks, this is and so I'm assuming that's why you wanted to do the video,
Right.
or trying to do it versus another method. But anyways, I wanted to hear why you suggested this.
Well, I think visually, people have to see Indigenous and non-Indigenous people coming together. They have to see, they have to hear, they have to be. But it's time that we bring people together, that we find a new path of understanding as equals. We're in the truth part of reconciliation.
I was hoping you would say that.
It's going to take 7 generations to repair what was done with the schools and the scoops and all of that stuff. We've gone through 2 generations, so we still have 5 more to go of the truth, more truth, sitting in the truth, feeling the truth, talking about the truth. Then possibly we can reconcile. We know what has to be reconciled. I don't know if there'll ever be a time when they're going to come to the Indigenous people and talk about the land. Right? So let's put that over there for now. Let's bring in allyship.
Okay.
Let's talk about allyship, which is a verb, means action. Allyship is why we're on this site right here. Our second site, this is Kitchener site. It took us 2.5 years to broker this deal with the region. Nobody else has ever been on a site like this. Nobody has made a land-based site like this, so it was a slow process. Frustrating at times, but well worth it. Because it wasn't for me. It was for us. It was for we. And our first site in New Hamburg with the Fennings. Beautiful people, amazing relationship. Just aligned very organically. The spirit led us. Allies too. They had land. They wanted to connect with Indigenous people and see how they could share it. Access to the land is our biggest barrier. Biggest barrier. Right? Everybody thinks we want the land back. We don't want the land back. Some people do.
Right.
What we want is access to the land. So we can do our healing ceremonies. So we can do our circles. So we can just be on the land, have that connection. But we've had so many barriers, so many barriers, so many barriers. But that's all we want. We want to be able to have a voice at every table, every decision-making table. It'd be great if it would just slow down and say, have we brought the Indigenous perspective in? We want freedom to do our ceremonies. We want to relearn our languages. We want camps for our kids, for our children. We want care for our elders. Because we do things differently, right? But everybody has just always stuffed us into a box.
Yeah. Well, because it's all about control.
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah.
And we fear vulnerability. And we become so disconnected from the land that we actually don't know how to interact with it anymore, right? We want to control the land. We want to run over this beautiful kind of stuff with pavement and concrete.
Yeah.
And I hear your voice saying, like, slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this isn't, you know, I think a lot of the things you've just said, Clarence, about, you know, when I review kind of the 94 calls to action and the truth and reconciliation, like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, it's education, it's the justice system, it's programming for youth, right? It's being called to the table. And, you know, when I was reviewing it again, I was like some of this is not that hard.
No.
It's about choices and decisions, and um, yeah, and it takes time, and but it takes relationship and understanding and learning. And I love that you keep reminding me that, you know, there's truth and reconciliation, but we're, we're not at the reconciliation
Yeah.
part,
No.
and we've got to sit in the truth part, and that's not easy. I think a lot of people feel threatened by that, and they just want to jump to the solution
Yeah.
because it's uncomfortable to think about um, the implications of the scoop, the implication of residential schools, the implications that thousands of children have gone missing, right? Like, I just, I think there's just too much pain and trauma to sit in it. And even for those of us who haven't experienced it, I think it's like, okay, but how do we jump, right? And what I'm learning from you is to say, like, no, I think we have to sit in that. And I have to say, there's so many things I want to say thank you to you for. But, you know, you wrote your life story. I don't know, it took you and Seth a good 7 years. You took
Yeah.
the you took the time to do it.
Wow.
What a journey. And you know, sitting at your book launch was just one of the highlights for me of the last number of years, and just seeing the diversity of people you brought together. But I don't know if you realize what a profound impact your book has had on me.
Mm.
And you would think, like, I knew a lot of parts of your story,
Right.
and you had shared them with me over the years, but you know what your book did for me, Clarence, is I think part of the challenge of sitting in the truth part is you can educate yourself a lot, right? You can read a lot about the 60s scoop, and you could read a lot about residential school, like, and that's a good starting ground.
Right.
Like, I think we all need to do that. Challenge with that is it can become a bit of an academic or a theoretical thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you know, we could read about the Holocaust happened, or some other human tragedy happened that, like, impacted generations. But when I read your story,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you, like, I remember asking you, how does it feel to kind of release this? And you're like, oh my gosh, I want to vomit. Like, it was, you were so nervous, and
Yeah.
yeah, because you vulnerably gave your story to the world. But by doing that, I think it made it real, right? Like, all of a sudden, you know, the impact of what happened to your mom and dad
Yeah.
wasn't a theory anymore.
Yeah.
It was real. It was in someone I cared about. And you shared kind of the implications of that for your life.
Yeah.
And in your book, you shared so many painful things that you experienced. And it was hard reading it because I was like, that didn't need to happen.
Mm. Yeah.
And yes, you have, um, you know, taken that story, and you've kind of done your work, and now your story is, you've given it as a gift to others, and you're making a difference. But I don't know, that's when that stuff became real for me, Clarence.
Yeah.
It went from theory to um, the atrocious things you had to go through, and your family had to go through, your daughters, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of what was done to you and your ancestors, um, yeah, that was hard. But I think it takes time to let that truth seep in.
Yeah. Yeah. And you shared about sitting with it. Well, we live it,
Yeah.
right? Like, we live it. It doesn't shut off anytime. The trauma, the pain, the intergenerational dysfunction, it's just in us. And our stories don't start with us. They never start with us. People think that a story is about them, but it's not. It doesn't start with us. It starts with our ancestors. It starts with our parents, our grandmothers and grandfathers. And that's why, as Indigenous people, we always acknowledge them.
Right.
We always say thank you. When we pray, our ancestors are always in the prayer. Our grandmothers and grandfathers are always acknowledged, because it's the hardships and the prayers that they said is why we're here today.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that about the book. It was hard, John. And once I released it, I had an elder tell me, Clarence, this book is amazing. More leaders should write books about themselves.
Mm.
Because it's all right there. There's no question, there's no doubt. You want to know who this individual is? Here's this book.
Yeah.
Right? Here's this book. Because then people know who I am. They know what I'm doing. I'm not from here, but I want to do some really good work here, because it's time. At Crochet Lodge, we don't run Crochet Lodge. I oversee Crochet Lodge. It's run by the Spirit. We don't push things. We don't make them happen. You mentioned power and control before. Ran into some situations with power and control with non-Indigenous people. Saying that, we don't get stuck in the weeds. We don't spend a lot of time going nowhere. We step back, and then we let our allies go in to talk to the non-Indigenous people. That's what we've had to do a bit, because we can't get caught in the weeds. Because some people are there, John, some people aren't. Some people will never understand the intergenerational traumas, the dysfunctions. Some people will just say, get over it. That wasn't my generation, just get over it. And those are the people who are not thinking about their roles and responsibilities to creation.
Yeah.
The past 200 years, we evolved pretty quick. With that evolution, we forgot about our responsibilities. We've managed to pollute the air, pollute the water, pull the trigger on global warming, lose 30% of the plants, animals. That happened in 200 years. What's going to happen in the next 200 years? That's what I'm thinking about. What we're trying to do at Crochet Lodge is we're trying to be the best ancestor we can be today. For your relations that are coming and my relations that are coming,
Yeah.
have these discussions. Lean into these discussions. Create these safe and welcoming places, and start creating pathways for people to come in
And slow down.
and slow down.
Yeah, I think after I read your book, we had a training with all of our leaders at House of Friendship, and I struggle with land acknowledgements. I think I've shared that with you.
Right.
I've heard enough
Right.
Indigenous brothers and sisters also kind of
Right.
share their honest opinions on them, and so I didn't want to just do that at that training, just so we could say, hey, we started our meeting with a land acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And so I asked all the leaders at House Friendship on the back of their name tag
Mm-hmm.
to write all their identities, and whatever they were.
Yeah.
It could be gender, it could be faith, it could be culture, it could be your, in relation to your family. Like, I was like, however you wanted to identify yourself. And then I asked people to kind of picture someone coming in and saying, there's something wrong with that identity. And because of what you believe, or because of your gender, or whatever, we're going to take your children away from you, or we're not going to allow you to do what you do today. think it was a powerful moment for us, the leaders at House Friendship, to kind of realize, to make it real, right? Because otherwise it's this, oh, it's that story our Indigenous brothers and sisters share, right?
Right.
No, but like picture that. Picture, because of your background, and someone saying, that's not okay, and we're going to take your children. Like, just, that breaks me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I really sit in that. And so I only share that because, I know you've heard that rhetoric of like, oh, that just happened in the past, like, move on. And it's like, what? Like, intergenerational trauma, this is going to take generations. And each generation, we have to kind of do something so that, like you said, my relations, your relations that are coming, that we're paving a different road for them. And that's what you're helping me do, Clarence, and understand, and and get more and more connected to the truth.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. But I think this is, again, one of your gifts, is that you do it in this non-threatening, safe, just kind of providing the opportunity, and you're not shaming me or anything. But you're always generously providing teaching and wisdom, and so then it's at my peril not to listen or not to pay attention, right? And we've had a history of that. As humans, I mean, there's plenty of stories in history where Indigenous folks said to Mother Earth, we got to stop, and we don't, and then there's a and so I just want to thank you for kind of the way you do this work. And you've always, I don't know if you've called yourself a bridge builder, but I feel like that's what you do.
Thanks, John. You know what I'm trying to do? Just trying to do the right thing. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Right. Things that should have been done a while ago. I'm trying to address things. It's not easy, but thanks for saying that. I like to build bridges, but I love to bring people together. Just all people. Just mix them up, right? Come on. If you have a hard conversation, we're not going to call you out. We're going to call you in.
Right.
Let's go sit in the teepee by the fire. Let's talk about it. And we're never going to blame or shame anyone. Yeah. But we're always going to talk about the truth. And that's what's good about Pro Shield Lodge. This is a time of opportunity. And there's so many endless opportunities that come to us every day in regards to forming new relationships, new partnerships, in regards to taking risks, in regards to challenging the system, because we're so conditioned to do things one way because we've been trained that way through the colonialist lens. There's different ways to do things, but it's risky.
It's hard to change patterns.
It's hard to change patterns, and I do not like change. From everything that I experienced growing up, I always felt like I was a victim of change. So when change happens, I got to slow down, I got to sit in it, I got to feel it, and then I have to challenge it, embrace it.
Yeah. I'm glad you said you also have to have the difficult conversations.
Yeah.
That's part of truth.
Yeah.
Truth isn't easy, and I think it was about a year ago, or whenever you just set this teepee up, and you brought me here, and maybe it was a couple years ago, but
that was last year.
Yeah, we had a difficult conversation. There were some things that were on your heart that, you felt hurt, and you were able to share that with me, and I was able to share with you what I was, where I was coming from, and we had that.
Yeah.
It was powerful. And I don't see a lot of that anymore in today's context, Clarence. I don't see the safety and trust to have the difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more about polarization. It's a lot more about shaming. It's a lot more about calling people out. And I'm not sure how that moves us forward.
It doesn't, John. It's this social media thing is just getting out of control. You can do whatever you want on social media.
Yeah.
You can call somebody out. You don't have to have a conversation. You're not accountable.
Yeah.
You can blame and shame, and it's just how is that keeping any relationship alive? How is that beneficial to any side? But
Well,
it's so common now.
Yeah, I think it's what got us into this mess in the first place is the self-centeredness.
Yeah.
It's about, well, if I lash out, I actually don't change the dynamic, but I feel better temporarily. But it doesn't actually change anything. And so I think change only happens when you enter into deep relationships and with people who think different than you, see differently than you, and have that space. And I'm saddened because I think a lot of people don't have it,
Right.
and they lash out, and I feel bad because I think about, try to imagine my life. You know, you and I have now been part of each other's lives like over a decade, close to 13, 14 years, and I can't imagine my life,
Mm-hmm.
like what my life would be without you in it. And you know, the fun we've had together, the teachings we've had, the things we've been able to build together, like, and a lot of people, I think it's just too threatening. Oh, well, you know, they're way different than me, or you know, they're going to call me out, or you know, I'm going to say something stupid.
Right.
Well, that's part of the learning process,
It is.
right? Like, I've said lots of dumb things, and yeah, and so, but again, when we have the trust in the relationship, when we're learning about other people's background, our lives are so enriched. But it does require some risk and vulnerability, and it's not something we're conditioned to anymore, right? You're supposed to be able to control everything in your life. That's the biggest lie. We're not in control.
No. We challenge that.
Yeah.
We challenge masculinity. We challenge everything. Because we have to get vulnerable. Or you should. You need to. And I never say have or need, or I will never use that. It's just that we're conditioned to pack things up, stuff them down. You can only do that for so long.
Well, Clarence, and that's kind of how I was, even in my first number of years serving here. Like, I don't see him, don't let them see you sweat. Make it look like you've got it all together, right? And we get these messages when we're in leadership too, right? Like, you know, we're supposed to be strong. We've got to know what we're doing. And you know, I've also shared this story a number of times. What you played such a pivotal role early on in my leadership. You were speaking somewhere. I remember sitting in the front row, I was listening to you. I think you were sharing the vision for the post-treatment houses. And I've heard you say this lots of times in the community, but that was the first time I heard you say it. And it was like, it's exactly what I needed to hear. And it changed me. And you said, it's okay to be broken.
Yeah.
We're all broken. But brokenness lets the light shine through. And Clarence, I know there was lots of other people there that day, but I felt like you were looking at me, and like that, like I needed to hear that day. And from that point on, I try to live into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a relief. Not like, yeah, I'm broken. We're all broken. We're all messed up. We all need help. And that's okay. It's actually in acknowledging that and living in that vulnerability that we open ourselves up to this.
Right.
And this relationship is what life is about.
Yeah.
It's not this.
No, and to be broken is to be ordinary. There's so many people out there. And the thing that I like to talk about is, how does somebody who is broken become a leader?
Yeah. Say more.
It's through the help of a community. You can't do it on your own. You have to find those mentors. You have to find those teachers. You have to find that path. But you also have to do your own personal work at the same time. And you have to see if this is something that you want to do, because once you start on this journey, you can't really just shut her down, because you're doing it for the people. You're not doing it for yourself.
Clarence, I want to push on this a bit.
Okay?
Because I'm guessing, well, maybe nobody will watch this video. And
Okay.
it's just been a fun conversation.
All right.
But let's just say,
Put it in the archives.
let's just say you and I get lucky, and there's some community leaders, maybe community leaders even right from our own community here that you and I serve with, watch this, and you and I meet with them, we chat with them, we listen to them, and there's a lot of brokenness in leaders right now. There's a lot of loneliness in leadership, and I think kind of what leaders have gone through in the last number of years in particular, and just in general these days, with so many different challenges and pressures, a lot of people don't even choose leadership.
Right.
And yeah, leaders aren't some like special, like you and I aren't that special, right? We've made certain choices,
Yeah.
and we've chosen to lead. Yeah, but I guess what words of wisdom would you share with either someone considering leadership or someone in leadership that's feeling like really broken right now, or losing hope, or feeling like the pressures of everything are just crashing down, and it's feeling like I don't know what to do. Yeah, what would you say?
Take a break. Step back. Get back into nature. Go be around your peers. I think that's so important, to be around other leaders, have that connection with other leaders, like the trust, not
Right.
doing the dance and getting to know them, but, have that solid core of individuals where you can go to and you can say, well, this is what I'm experiencing. Have you ever experienced this before, or ran into a similar situation? But one of the biggest things is just stepping away, slowing it down, getting back out into nature. Because we have teachings that if anybody ever strays off that good path in life, we don't shun them, we don't put them in jail, we don't judge them or categorize them. What we do is we surround them as family and as in friends, and we take them back out to the land. Because the land has everything that we need to become realigned again as Indigenous people. All of our teachings, medicines, ceremonies, everything comes from the land. And non-Indigenous people are starting to see the benefits of actually being on the land. Disconnecting from that convenience, disconnecting from our phones. And we became human doers instead of human beings. We forgot what it means to be.
Yeah, and I think, again, leader to leader, just kind of the gift you've been to me. There's been a few times through the pandemic, probably at my lowest points, all of a sudden I get a text from you. And you didn't know. Like I hadn't sent out anything, or and then yeah, when you feel like, okay, I can't do this anymore, you get this message from you, and you said, hey brother, I love you, and just sending love. And I don't know if you remember the one text I sent you back. I was like, it made me really uncomfortable. I was a little bit eerie. I was like, whoa, like I'm doing really not well. Like, how did he know? And I think I texted you back and saying, like, do you have a direct line with Creator? Because I'm getting kind of wigged out here, like that you knew this. And yeah, I've really appreciated that. And I think we can do that for each other as leaders, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we can understand sort of the pressures and the burdens, and it's just a look, or it's just conversation, and we just kind of know, and that's been another one of the many gifts you've given me. So I want to say thank you for that encouragement. because the road is not straight.
No.
You know, it goes and veers off, and you think you're going a certain direction, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
you fall into the water and you're drowning a bit, and then you come and
Yeah.
pull me up, and maybe another time I do that. It's the dance. So
And I want to thank you for introducing me to some pretty cool people. Right?
yeah, it is a gift to serve in this community.
Yeah.
We have a lot of beautiful leaders who I think are able to lean into their brokenness, but also say, this isn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
This is about the community. This is about, you know, future generations and what we need to do for them. But we're human.
Yeah.
We say dumb things at times. We make mistakes, and just hope that we're given the grace that we give others at times, and you just kind of move forward.
Well, I think I heard somewhere in the wind, if you're not pissing people off, you're not doing a good job. So I don't know where that came from, but I heard that. But you know, we're all about community, right? We're all about community, and we've had some heavy discussions about community.
Right.
How do we bring community together? How do we feel the genuine pulse of the community? Well, I think you do that by bringing people from different sectors together and just bring them on the land, you know, and getting their truth. Not a story, not a report or not an assessment, but the truth of what they see, of what they feel.
Yeah. And I've heard firsthand when we've had some of our teams come here, and people say after they've come here, there's something different in the team.
Yeah.
But again, there's something that can happen here in a way that can't happen in a little boardroom or whatever,
Yeah.
where it's all structured and planned, and
Yeah.
it changes. But again, you gotta be willing to take that risk. And yeah, so Clarence, again, thank you for what you've done for our colleagues. Thank you for, I think there's a partnership between Crow Shield and some of our addiction treatment programs. I think
Yeah.
we're going to have some of our participants come here and reconnect. So thank you for opening and creating those sort of opportunities. Yeah.
You're welcome, John. The biggest thing about creating this was at the right time. Is it the right time to create something like this? Are we ready to create something like this? Is it going to be utilized? You know, and the biggest concern that I've always had and we've always had is I hope that someday we'll be able to put a site like this in a public space. I don't know if we're there yet, but I know that people are thirsty. People are eager. People want to know how to help, but they don't know where to start, right? So just bringing people out to the land is a great beginning. Getting them reconnected, letting them see what we offer, giving them some basic teachings, because we always use the analogy of a ladder. We got to start everybody off at the bottom so that they have that foundational understanding. And what we're finding here, John, is that we're working with men and women who are grown adults, but we'll have to take them back to when they're 10, 11, 12 years old, because that's where all the dysfunction started, and that's when they stopped growing and maturing. So we got to take them back there and slowly bring them up.
It's a long journey.
It is. We're just giving people what they need. Time, space, meeting them where they're at.
Believing in them.
Yes.
Seeing something that they don't see in them.
Yeah, lifting them up, giving them platforms to use their gifts. Because at Crow Shield Lodge, after somebody's with us for a while, we want to help them answer 3 very important questions. Those questions are, who am I? Why am I? And what is my purpose in life?
And I think that's something that this work has taught me is it's yeah, it's nice to help others, but I don't feel true healing happens until someone can answer those three questions. And once you answer that third one, what happens is then you start giving back.
Yeah.
None of us ever want to be in a place where we're just receiving or we're constantly needing help. And there is a time in our lives where that needs to happen, and it's a longer time for those who've experienced atrocious trauma.
Right.
But for me, the circle of healing has not happened until someone can then give of themselves to someone else, right? And I mean, you're a living example of that. Crochet Lodge is an example of that. But I think if you can't, yeah, I love that. If you can't answer those three questions, then I think there's still work to be done.
Mm-hmm. And we're on this journey, this healing journey for the rest of our lives, right?
Yeah, it's,
You know,
and I think again, you know, in honor of sort of Truth and Reconciliation Day, you know, as people think about what that means, is I think those are wise words, right? This isn't one day, or this isn't just a to-do thing. Like, this is a way we need to live in harmony with each other, with the land, and there's a lot of work to be done.
mm-hmm. I like that, John. I like that. It's not just one day.
Yeah.
Right.
But hopefully we can at least just pause or like slow it down. If that's even just the start. Then maybe we've accomplished something on September 30th.
It's a special day.
Clarence, what I could for so many other things, and I don't know how long people are willing to watch this video for, but is there any other sort of teachings, wisdom that you want to share, or I don't know if you have a closing, or yeah, I want to honor your time as well.
There was when I was starting my journey, I was with my AA sponsor, up by Burke's Falls. I did my 4th step, and then he says, "Hey, we have some time. Where do you want to go?" So North Bay and Callender wasn't that far. So we went and visited my great uncle, who was non-Indigenous, who was a sniper in the Second World War. My sponsor said to my great uncle Bert, he goes, "So Bert, if you could tell me anything that would help me and Clarence navigate life, it would be very beneficial to us, just one thing, what would help?" I think Bert he was like, my uncle was like 87 years old. Oxygen on. He says, "If I can tell you guys anything," he says, "do the best in everything that you do. And creation will give its best back to you."
Wow.
It's all about just doing the right thing. And when you do it, just try to do it to the best of your ability.
Appreciate it.